your coffee.
Music helps calm me down too, like the right kind of music.
Music, okay.
Meditating.
Sleep.
Doing something I enjoy,
Like what?
like playing with my dog.
No animals, yeah. That's amazing. I think if a conflict does come up, collaborating about ways to prevent it in the future, rather than just finding a solution for that one conflict.
Okay, so not being so micro-sighted, narrow-visioned, yeah, okay? So kind of thinking big picture, how we're gonna learn from this, collaborate for the future, like it.
A lot of times when I'm in the classroom and something is bothering me, I just like to step out for
Outside or just step out of the class?
outside if I can, but just outside of the class usually kind of
I'm with that, so.
changes.
So we'll take
So,
5-minute breaks.
Yeah.
Nailed mine. I like music, so it's already on mine.
Okay, anybody do yoga
I think.
or exercise? Kayak? I like to exercise in some capacity. Might be a really hardcore exercise or it might be yoga, it just depends on my mood, right? How about a warm bath?
Oh, that's my go-to.
Okay,
Essential oils, some smells.
yeah, you guys are right near doTERRA here. Have
Work
lots of
out.
People that use those around here,
Oh, I work out.
essential oils.
Oh, yeah, the
Isn't doTERRA just right around?
Young Living.
And
Young Living too.
doTERRa's down here too?
Mhm.
Oh, I buy doTERRA.
doTERRa's closer.
I like doTERRA.
Jen said workout. But that way.
Spending time with my family. I like them.
if they're not the ones causing me
So
the.
Oh,
I like most of my animals.
I like to take a walk.
go to swig.
I say walk too, though.
Look at nature pictures.
Or even better, be in nature one way or
Yeah.
another, right? I'll just write nature, either, we can define that however we can connect to nature in some capacity. Any others? We have, can we come up with 6 more?
I like to pray.
Okay. Prayer.
I like to mold therapy. That's my own thing.
Go to therapy.
Just therapy,
Therapy.
just squeeze.
Oh, therapy, sorry.
I like to get massages. Truth be told.
Pampering. Retail therapy.
Shop.
That is so true. I think that's every woman's.
You know I've had a rough week when I have a new pair of shoes.
So should we put chocolate on that list?
Oh,
Chocolate.
freaking
Well, we could certainly food in some way. I mean,
Yeah.
whatever that may be. Go home and some people might want to go home and to cook. That's therapeutic. Or someone wants to go home and eat everything inside.
By your coffee and tea, soda is a huge for me.
So a drink of some kind. I didn't say that sometimes I like to have a glass of wine. I'm in the wrong town for
Yeah.
that, but sometimes that's nice too.
I think
Drinking
honestly being on my
so
phone and
you
like
know,
playing a game or
screwed.
something that takes my mind off
Sure.
of it.
Okay. So, do you want me to say just social media / game or phone time or screen time? How do you want me to say that?
Screen time, maybe.
Screen time.
Screen time.
Netflix.
Yeah, Facebook. and-
Mindless activity.
Yeah, mindless.
Mindless
There's a
activity,
mindlessness to that. Yes, all right. So doing something mindless. Awesome. Okay. Kids have their own pot. And sometimes they're not really aware of what they can fill their pot up with instead. And this would be a very good activity for them to do.
To do both things, list what bothers them and then list both. Like,
Yes.
that's really good.
And I'll model for you a way you can do that with young kids. But what I like to remember or to help kids see is that and for really all of us to see, these don't necessarily go away. You know, these, I didn't take these away. It's just that we're making space. Did you see how these kind of took up all the space? And then there was no room to really think about this stuff. So Stephen Covey, you know, the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. In his book, he's got that metaphor, whether it's a book or I think it's credited to Stephen Covey, the big rocks in the jar. Are you familiar with that metaphor? You could do that with kids. Is everybody nodding? You've seen that? So if you can bring in a big jar and bring in
Big rocks.
big rocks, exactly. And if the big rocks represent the things that are most important that we take, you know, that we do in our lives. You know, family and school and time to develop yourself. You know, all the things that are really important. And then the little rocks that are all the things that sort of fill up all that space. But you can show the kids that if you put a bunch of little rocks in first, there is not room in the jar to add all of the big rocks. And so what you can do is add the big, and then dump it all out and say, well, how can we make all these big rocks fit? These are important to us. Put all the big rocks in first, and then add the little rocks, and they can make their way around and fill in the holes. But if you only make space for things that are important to you after you take care of all the yucky stuff, there's not room for all of it. It's a really nice metaphor for kids. There's lots of ways you can go with this, but this is sort of fun for kids to make their own little pot. You know, what drives them crazy, and let them use little sticky notes, you know, if they make their own little one, and then show them, model this for them, let them go do it themselves, and write in, or do it as a group, however. Another way you can do this with kids, and I'll model this for you right now, is yeah. Okay, can we make a circle?
Could we?
Can you, bring a chair so you're comfortable.
Oh, I love it.
Okay, so bring a chair or sit on the floor, either way.
Do you want me to observe and record? Or do you
Either
want me
way.
to observe
Yeah,
and
feel free to
record?
participate though from where you are. So let's keep it light initially. This is called Bugs and Wishes, but we're gonna start with bugs. It really bugs me when I have a peanut butter and jelly sandwich and the jelly squirts out the side and I get sticky.
Anything that bugs me?
Anything that bugs you.
It really bugs me when I wake up in the middle of the night and can't go back to sleep.
It really bugs me when I can't have soda.
It really bugs me how difficult it constantly is to lose weight.
It really bugs me when people slam doors.
That can be a fairly light, just letting it out, right? Another day. You don't have to say a whole lot, just model something a little deeper. It really bugs me when people yell in my face.
It really bugs me when people overspend their money but then ask for help financially later.
It really bugs me when people tell me what to do.
Probably don't right now. Does that ever happen?
Things that pass.
Bug you?
Pass.
Really bugs me when I'm not taken seriously.
So when you're doing things with kids and you want to give everybody a voice, it's great to have an object of something, and then everybody has a voice, even if the voice simply says pass. So this allows a feeling of community among everybody, because everyone has a voice and we're all equal. The loudmouths or the leaders or the clowns really don't have any more voice here than anyone else. So we'll talk about classroom meetings, but when we're building respect for differences and we're building this ability to really sit together and get to deep, rich things and go to a place where we can find solutions, we want to start building this with just simple little group time every day where everybody has a voice.
How often would you go around the circle once a week?
Once. typically once, unless you're doing a brainstorm. Like, this wasn't really a brainstorm, it was just an opportunity to speak out. If you're doing a brainstorm and a lot of people pass, it just means their mind wasn't really in that place yet. Hey, it seems like ideas are just now starting to come, let's throw it around again. You can throw out another idea or just say pass. Okay? But we always want them to at least say the word pass. Yeah. Okay, so now, I've kind of done 2 different sessions, like a lighthearted bug, and you might do that a few times. It's fun. Let's do bugs. Bring out a different bug. I got these at the dollar store. They like to do this. Then you can do bugs, and you don't have to say, okay, this time, these are bigger things about people that bug you, you know. It's fine, just model it. And as you start to bring out richer, deeper bugs, they will too. But it's fine if they don't, okay? Then,
Would you do this every day?
well, they're gonna grow tired of it eventually. But you could do this several times before moving on to something else, and then occasionally bring it back. All right. It bugs me when people take my eraser without asking, and I wish that they would ask me before they use my things.
It really bugs me when I feel like my opinion doesn't matter, and I really wish that people would accept my opinion.
It really bugs me when I work hard to do something, and I really wish people would notice all the work I put into it. Pass.
This one's tricky.
I don't know if I said it right.
It really bugs me when someone says, I am too young or look too young to do something, and I wish that people would understand that I would not be interviewing or doing a job unless I was qualified.
I think you just activated our lipstick.
Oops.
Isn't that fun? Okay, so you can build that in eventually, right, where we add the I wish piece. If you feel like that's heavy, go to just wish only. I wish people were always happy. You know, I wish for my birthday could come 3 times a year. You know, and so we can do this lighthearted wish and then bring in both. Okay, now, if you've done this enough, then this can now go on the conflict management area, your peace shelf, or wherever you want to put that, and now we can work one-on-one. Hey Kim, it really bugs me when you ask me every day if you can eat some of my lunch, and I really wish you bring enough lunch.
Yeah, I wish I had that in junior high.
Yeah, right. So this it becomes a really good one-on-one tool. But in the circle, we're general. We never say names. And so I have at the circle, I have our helper hand. And at some point, you can actually have a monitor that's okay. We want to always at the circle. We want to be honest, but we always want to make sure our comments are helpful. And so at any point, we're getting to a place of blame where we're now saying names, or you can tell that somebody in here might be hurt by that comment. We'll just put up a stop, like, nope, not a good idea. You know, this is kind of like, oh, no. So we can take turns regulating our group by being the helpful hand person. Okay. Now, whether your group would respond to this surprisingly would, but you know, anything that I'm trying to model, I'm trying to give you like teacher tips that you can do at any time.
So a student would have that.
Yeah. You could
give somebody in
introduce.
charge of. Okay.
Yeah, you could kind of have this ready at any point, and I wouldn't really bring it up until somebody says, well, it really bugs me when Brooke won't let me sit by her. And then I could say, okay, I'm gonna put a stop sign, here's my hand, it's sort of a stop, that we wanna stay in a helpful place right now. And so we'll avoid using names or blame, and just think about helping hands instead. This is our kind of like, oh. And then at that point, if you were the one to have said that, I could actually say, Kim, would you be willing to keep track of that for us today?
Okay, but here's a question, with some of the concerns that have come up today, you wonder if they are directly meant for you, or, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So is your job as an outsider in a circle to take that feedback and hear it and assume that it is you that's maybe micromanaging, I know I'm not doing that, but that's a good example, right? And try to apply that.
Yeah, or if Brooke, did something to Kim that morning, you know, what was the example I just gave? I don't remember now.
Sit next to him.
Yeah, she wouldn't let you sit, she wouldn't sit with you. And when Kim says it really bugs me when people won't let me sit by them, that's good information for Brooke to get too, you know, and she's not being publicly humiliated. She can internalize that and choose to do something about it or not.
But how do you get your kids to recognize, I mean, you just kind of hope they get it? Because one, you're dumping out, you know, like, I can understand the pot and getting it out, but the other is like, do you realize this might, you know, it's like, hey, Kim, this might apply to you, you know?
Yeah, and you have the student that's just kind of like, I'm in the circle, but I'm
Yeah,
over
okay,
here.
so here's what, I want you to think about a house for a minute, okay? Before you can build a house, what is the very first thing you must do before you build, even before the foundation?
Dig the dirt.
Yeah, you gotta prep
Need
the
a
dirt,
property
like,
plan.
yes, survey the land, clear it, level it, you're kind of preparing the ground, right? Then, and that's kind of what we're initially doing with our class. We're just creating this light-hearted, everybody has a voice, we take turns talking, it's okay to be fun and silly in here, it's okay to be honest. This, you know, passing around things as lighthearted as a little bug is preparing that ground, okay? Now, laying the foundation is a deeper, richer level where, wow, we are really acknowledging that we accept differences, that everybody can have an opinion, that we don't have to agree with the opinion, but we can honor that you have yours, agree to disagree, that we take turns talking, that we don't blame, you know, all that, and that's kind of laying that foundation. And then, what do you do after foundation? Yeah, you build your 4 walls. So probably the true power behind positive discipline use in the classroom, complementary to Montessori, is the classroom meeting, where now you use the meeting as a avenue for solving recurring problems. Okay, so Brooke continues to exclude Kim, even though Kim has said bugs and wishes what she's had to say, or maybe even has talked to her directly at the peace table. The classroom meeting now becomes, hey, we've got a problem between a few people, and they have requested that we can offer some solutions and give them some new ideas. And Kim's gonna share what she's tried, and we're gonna offer suggestions and be supportive towards the relationship between Kim and Brooke. That classroom meeting is sort of the power to address those recurring things. But we can't do that until we've prepped the ground, laid the foundation. So I am not suggesting that you would go in the first month, 2, 3, even 4 months of school and start taking on big problems with these young kids unless they really are ready, and likely they wouldn't be ready till probably January. So, yeah.
What about us as a team? Are you gonna be helping us lay that, like, prep the groundwork? Because I'm assuming this happens also on a management level.
It does. So I'm hoping we're sort of prepping the ground this week a little bit, right now, exactly. That we are recognizing that we do those things on those challenging lists, and we want this for ourselves, and that we're gonna lose it, and there are things that we should know about each other that will help. And at meetings, I'm gonna suggest, are you gonna meet weekly?
Yeah.
I'm going to suggest that you actually run your staff meeting the same way you run a class meeting, which I'll model for you. It's actually, it fits beautifully. And then you're getting practice yourself with what that looks like, because you're doing it yourself.
So
Okay.
quick question. So for the class meetings, Nancy suggested that happens like maybe once a week. What if you have 2 different situations that are really bothering the kids involved with that? Do you want to address both of those situations in one class meeting, or like have one and the next day have another class meeting? Or is that too much?
I would suggest you're having a class meeting at least 3 times a week, and ideally, maybe even more. And the reason why is then they can be shorter. If you have a class meeting once a week, it's going to be very long.
Okay.
And when it's long, that means you always start a class, I'm gonna get ahead of myself, but class meetings, you always start with acknowledgements, appreciations, encouragement, observations. Then you go to, you review any old business. Hey, last week we decided for inclusion that people would sit at a different table every day. How's that working for everybody? You know, like check in. Do we need to put that back on the agenda, or is that problem been solved? You know, you kind of just check in. Then you go to new business, which is you go to the agenda where people have had an opportunity to write down concerns, and you give them 3 choices. Are you just sharing without discussion? Are you looking for solutions? Oh, I'm sorry, are you sharing without comment? Are you giving people a chance to comment, but not necessarily looking for a solution? You're just looking for ideas, and we're calling it that. Or are you actually looking for a whole solution? And we'll go through those more later. And then you end with something sort of lighthearted. If you have a meeting only once a week, your compliments aren't any longer. Your old business might be a little bit longer, and your closing fun thing isn't any longer. So what becomes longer? Problem after problem after problem. And that's like, oh, they're gonna dread class meetings. They're like, oh.
And this, you wouldn't start that until January though?
It's not a magic formula. I just wouldn't start it until you have prepped the ground and laid the foundation.
So those meetings are happening, but they're just prepped.
A little bit.
Yes.
They're a little bit more guided.
Yes, and
Yeah.
we're gonna be doing a bunch of those this week.
So when we talk about a faculty meeting as well, we've talked about doing a 15-minute debriefer after the kids leave. Do you do that kind of thing, or do you want that just a one-time faculty?
Well, what do you want and what's doable? I mean, a 15-minute briefer daily, is that what you're saying? No, once a week or what?
I've heard Jen express to do it daily, but I feel like teachers may have a different opinion because they're in the classroom and have to prepare for the next day.
So I want to just pause here for a second, because my whole doing it daily is not you have this big meeting of compliment, check in old business, new
Yeah,
business, fun
right,
things.
right.
It's, you know, reflecting on your day just like you expect the students to do, and say what is working, what isn't working, what are we going to do tomorrow. It should be a 15-minute conversation that is the constant improvement component of what we're doing.
Sure. So probably the power behind that reflection would be able to do that, and this is my opinion, and then you guys can adjust. But I could see a lot of power behind reflecting alone, a lot of power behind reflecting with your assistant, and then as a group. So if you're going to do that daily, you might consider, okay, 1 day a week, we're actually gonna have a meeting. You know, we need to address issues in business and blah, 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 and that would be a typical staff meeting. And then you might have, then the next day is, at the end of the day, it's a self-reflective time. And then another day, sort of a reflective time with your partner. And then another day, a check-in with everybody. And I would suggest that if you were gonna mix it up, you still do it maybe all in the same room, so there's an accountability, because just because we say we're gonna be self-reflective doesn't mean we will, because we're distracted, we're in our room and a parent grabs us, and or, you know, we've really gotta prep for tomorrow. So you could still meet together, but maybe mix up the reflective means for, I don't know, what do you guys think?
Yeah, I just wanna honor what you as teachers feel you need.
And if we can literally keep it to 15 minutes, then that would be, you know, I feel like respecting our time. But if it's gonna go longer and it's gonna be like 30 minutes every day, you know, that extra 15 minutes takes away 15 minutes of prep time in the classroom for the following day, especially the first, you know, week or so of school. I feel like that's really important time to have in the classroom prepping. So we keep it to 15 minutes max.
But I like her idea of us not even, I mean, like in my opinion it's reflecting amongst yourself, reflecting with your partner.
Right.
And then we're there if you need to reflect with us.
she's saying still come together as a group so that everybody's held accountable.
Okay.
I'm suggesting you might,
And
and
that's
that's
wise
right.
because if you say like, hey Brooke, you know, don't forget today's self-reflection day, I'm like, yeah, and I'm in the middle of something,
Yeah.
and then I might forget to self-reflect. and not
Right, or you guys are in your room and you're reflecting together, in reality, you're not. You know, you're talking, you're just talking about, you know, your weekend. Which it's just, it's really a tricky thing because we wanna build that too, I wanna hear about your weekend, you know? But if we're gonna dedicate this time to reflective time, then we need to all kind of commit to that and hold ourselves accountable. And that's why I'm saying, find a central place where everybody will be, and then we're sort of by nature accountable. Nobody's micromanaging you, you're just agreeing. You know, it's sort of like, we agreed, or we decided this is how we would best be self-accountable to this.
So maybe somewhere outside the classroom.
Yeah, or even if it's in a classroom, everybody's in the same
Everybody's in the
classroom.
same
Right.
classroom.
Yeah, and it might be you and Kim are over on this side, and Brooke and her sister are on the other side, and you're sort of reflecting on your day and talking about it. How'd that go? What do you think about trying this next time? Hey, did you pick up on da-da-da-da-da? But you're on each side of the room. And if it's a self-reflective day, you might just be quiet at a table, but everybody's sort of here. I think there's a nice energy to that.
Do you feel like it's realistic from your experience?
I haven't ever done it that way, so I can't speak to that.
So what did you guys
Yeah,
do?
what did you, what were your?
We had all stuff meeting, and then we had level meetings, so we had 2 different meetings.
But not every day, just
Not every day,
once a week?
twice a week. Once as a whole staff and once as a level.
We did whole staff once a month, and then we did level once a week.
So did that change based on the development stage you're at this school? Because, I mean, some of this, I don't think we need to do self-reflective work maybe every day come May, but to me in the beginning, while we're getting people up to speed and everybody's coming together, I mean, I just see that as a startup phase.
Okay, here's what I'm gonna propose. Let's not make the decision right now. Let's let this percolate a little bit, because some more things are gonna come out with this positive discipline stuff. There's another really powerful tool that you can use with each other when you have what's gonna come up is when you have a challenging child and you need help. What am I gonna do with this kid? And that there's a really great process as teachers that you can, it's called Teachers Helping Teachers. And it's 14 steps, it's very clear, and you walk through these steps. And you're gonna need that too. And that's gonna be like another, which is different from a staff meeting where you're just getting information. So we can decide maybe by the end of next week, or by the end of this week, or early next week, if this is going to be, how often you'll meet, how long you'll meet, and what those will look like. The less you meet, the better in terms of teacher sanity, but in terms of startup, you guys have different needs that you won't always have.
So I know for me, it really helps when I write things down, and for my training, I have to journal every day. So I think it would actually work really well if I could just like take 15 minutes every day and reflect.
Right. And that may or may not be able to be the needs of the group.
Right.
You have to do that anyway, it just might not be, it might have to be at a different time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just saying if that is what we do decide, we do have a 15-minute self-reflection, that would,
Right.
I think, work for me.
And if you actually had, you know, a timekeeper, literally a little alarm, and that held you accountable, like, we're not going more than 10 minutes.
I'm really good at that.
Yeah, and if everybody really honored that, and everybody showed up on time, and you're like, all right, here we go, we are a team, we're of the same mindset, here we go. That could be quite powerful, really powerful. And you might find that you don't wanna go without that time, that actually that 10 minutes is some of the most valuable 10 minutes of your day. Great, do that. But let's decide that later. All right, so we're gonna put that on the board.
To go to the bathroom.
Should we take a break?
Yeah.